Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tom Worth Jr. Today I wanted to talk about something that Donald Trump was the worst president in American history on. And this is not an opinion, this is by objective statistical numbers. It's not the economy. That's up for debate. I realize that. It's not foreign policy. We've been all over the map as a country on foreign policy. It is okay. I've made a video about the environment in general, but this is about land use in the United States. This is about protected lands. And where I got off on this was this morning. I had an email from the Texas State Parks. We'll go to them every now and then. We're big park people, getting outdoors. And I was just looking at the fall colors. You can go visit any of them and just drive down there, and then they're public lands. They're public resources. They're available to all of us to go enjoy. And I immediately recalled how I was getting a lot of emails back at the time, going back to I want to say 2017 or so, from Patagonia, which I love that brand. You probably have seen me wear a lot of Patagonia t-shirts on the channel before. They're just into sustainability, into reusing things, into recycling things, into repairing clothes, rather than just throwing them out or donating them. You can donate them, but if you could repair them instead of buying new stuff, that would be great. Organic cotton, all of these great things. And that goes back to their founder, Yvon Chouinard, who was a mountain climber, started this company building his own mountain climbing gear, and I actually bought his autobiography some years ago, Let My People Go Surfing. Such a cool dude, old guy now, and he, I wonder if he's still alive. I don't know, I've had this for a while, but just into sustaining what we have, and that is not at all what Donald Trump tried to do. Obviously, he is a land developer, a real estate developer, but he's not developing anything for the public. He is developing golf courses, which almost nobody will ever use. Like those would be large swaths of land. He's developing luxury hotels and resorts, which only the extremely wealthy will use, or people looking for political influence. They will have their people from their country stay in his properties. They know that that's required if they want him to do anything with them as a nation. That's what he does, and also opens up to oil and gas drilling, to mining. He is like a villain out of any stupid TV show or cheesy drama or whatever. He's just the stereotypical bad guy in every single thing he does. And this is no different. This is trying to take public lands and convert them to private use, and convert them to mining and oil and gas drilling and environmental catastrophes, or setting aside for rich people. He's just a comically evil villain in every single thing he does. But I found some stats here. This is from the Center for American Progress, most anti-nature president in U.S. history. This was from May of 2020. He has removed more protections from U.S. lands than President Teddy Roosevelt protected as parks and monuments. And you're all familiar with the national park system. Roosevelt did not create the national park system. He created 5 new national parks. There were 5, and then he created 5 more. But the national park system wasn't invented yet. But you could create national parks, set them aside, protect them from development. You could set aside what were called national monuments. That's something like Devil's Tower up in Wyoming, what you saw in the Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The Grand Canyon itself, he set aside as a monument. So these are big deals. Bears Ears was a huge one that was at the forefront of the Trump fight against public lands. And what he did was he took, he's president, quote, in fact, President Trump is the only president in U.S. history to have removed more public lands than he protected. So he has removed well, some of it was, hopefully a lot of it was going to be overturned in court, but not all of it. And this is just through 3 years. He attempted to remove protections from 35 million acres of public lands, which was about 1,000 times more than the property he tried to protect. It is an area roughly the size of Florida that is just available for public use and protected from development. And he just removed those protections unilaterally. And people are pretty sure, legal scholars, that he couldn't actually do this. But of course that never stops him from doing anything, whether the law allows it or not. But there were court battles around this. 15 times the size of Yellowstone National Park, which is a huge park. If you've ever been to Yellowstone, it's not something that you're just getting in and hiking around and checking it out. You're gonna, I mean, you can do some of that, but you're driving through it. There's some roads through it, and they restrict the traffic flow, but it's just a vast park, and he's tried to remove the protections from 15 times the size of Yellowstone and the size of Florida. This is what he does. And so you might not think that's that big a deal. You might think that's just for, I don't know, whoever you think national parks or monuments are for. But this has traditionally been a bipartisan issue, because you have people who love the outdoors that are Republicans too. You have hunters who love the outdoors. Now, usually, I mean, they're not hunting on public lands. They're usually hunting on private ranches or private hunting spaces, deer leases, whatever it is. But these are outdoorsmen. These are people who like to camp, who like to live off the land for a little bit. And if you don't have these federal lands set aside for public use and protected from development, you can't do that. And we've already run into, during COVID, there were restrictions in all the national parks as to how many people could be in them at any one time, and you had to have permits ahead of time, sometimes months ahead of time. So we already don't have enough public lands for that. You already, certain parks at certain times of year, especially out in California, there's just too many people that want to use them. And so if he is removing an area the size of Florida from public use, then that just means you have that much less space for all of us to try to cram into and visit. And you'll just never get to go to places. There will always be a waiting list. My wife and I would like to, every now and then, we would just say, hey, we have an unexpected free weekend. Maybe it's Wednesday right now, and we want to head somewhere Friday. And we would just do that. But then we had to start looking into it ahead of time, seeing if we needed some sort of pass or permit. Is it a busy time of year? Usually we would probably do that in the fall, where it's not as busy at places. Some place like Big Bend, early October is just amazing down on the Rio Grande. These places where you don't really need to worry about it right now, you can just get in your car and go. Well, if you take away an area the size of Florida from everyone else, guess where they're going to go? They're going to go to the places you are used to going. Now, those places will be way too crowded. And why is he doing this? Well, it's to open them up to oil drilling, gas, mining. It's just, and he had some ridiculous plan about opening up public lands for housing development. And it's just ridiculous. Like, if you're housing, I mean, this is just the kind of thing he just never ever thinks through. And if you have, like, here in Dallas Fort Worth, you know, there's different parts of the metroplex which are just exploding, other parts not growing so fast, and you have wild variation in demand for residences. And you go up someplace north like Frisco or McKinney or something, those prices are just ridiculous. That's where everyone wants to go. And if Trump says, well, you know what, I'm opening up some public land in Utah and we're going to help solve this housing crisis, this is just so ridiculous. Nobody's going to leave Frisco, Texas because Trump is opening up some public lands in Utah or wherever. I mentioned Utah because Utah has maybe the highest percentage of public lands, like the land in their state, their land area. I want to say Utah might be the biggest percentage of public lands. The place is awesome. It's just great. It's beautiful. You drive through it. It's available for you if you want to use it. And Trump thinks he's just going to build a bunch of apartments there, and everyone's going to leave New York or Boston or LA and go live in his apartments and houses in the middle of nowhere, really. Sorry, Utah, but I love you. But there's not a lot of job opportunities around that state or wherever these public lands are. They're typically in the non-populated places. So people are going to live where they already live. They're going to live where their families are. They're going to live where their jobs are. They're not, and it's just BS, him saying that it's going to help alleviate housing shortages. It doesn't. What it does do is it reduces the land available for all of our use when you want to get out and get away from things. Maybe you want to remind yourself why it's good to live in civilization. Like, it's all hot and sweaty and mosquito-y and I don't know, whatever you do, it's beautiful. There's no denying it. I got my start with wanting to do a YouTube channel by watching photography videos and camera videos, and these people are always out. I mean, you have some street photography in cities, but usually they're just in cool, beautiful places because we are not in them. We are in our homes, in our apartments, we're in our lives, in our daily lives, and we can put on a 15-minute YouTube of somewhere, wherever, in Yellowstone or in Alaska, in Arizona. It's a big one. He would have it so where you can't do that. And this is just yet another thing that he's tried to take away from us. I have a whole article here about a bunch of stats and comparisons as to how much land that is. But you get the point. It's just another thing he's trying to take away from Americans as a whole and then sell them off to people who will give him money. You know, if he can unprotect millions of acres and then open that up to drilling, and then he tells which he has done this, he has told oil and gas executives that they need to contribute to his campaign for good treatment from him, just like he does with everyone. Well, they will do that. And so this is how he can make millions of dollars for himself by taking public lands, which belong to all of us. And it's, I know there are Trump voters watching this, and why? You, like, name one thing where this guy is not just a storybook, straight out of the movies villain in everything he does. This is what gets me this morning, and I'm laughing about it. It's just comical, and there's no other word for it. So yeah, Worst president in American history. Not even close. It is not in dispute when it comes to not just the treatment of the environment. I already had a video about that, how he brought in everyone who sues the EPA and tries to dismantle the EPA to actually run the EPA. This is just straight up numbers of acres that he removed federal protections from. It's out there for all to see. So anyway, that's it for today. Hopefully you guys are out there getting out, enjoying the great outdoors if you can, enjoying the leaves. It's beautiful out. It feels nice. And I'm hoping you get a chance to do that. All right. And we'll talk tomorrow. Bye-bye.